was going to say, I wonder what Rick Rubin would think about.
Oh, there you go.
He'd probably tell you about his new book.
He would. He would definitely. That'd be the first thing out of his bloody mouth. I got a new book out. This is our final piece of news. We've been on for nearly an hour and we haven't left the news, but that's not necessarily a bad thing in this case. He has absolutely no technical ability, and I know nothing about music. Rick Rubin, the legendary record producer who's worked with the likes of Slayer, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Black Sabbath, Beastie Boys,
there you go.
Eminem. And the founder of Def Jam Records. Founder of Def Jam Records.
Yeah, I think it said he was also a co-president of another record label.
Something like that. Yeah,
Columbia.
Columbia.
There we go. Small independent record label.
So yeah, this is. I wanted to bring this as more like a public service announcement than anything else. The idea that this a very well-established, fantastic guy openly admits to knowing nothing, and not in the sense of like the Ram Dass knowing nothing, just in the sense that he has no technical ability. The Socratic. He knows nothing about music, and yet he is incredibly successful in what he does. And this is not unheard of, obviously. I mean, if you look at most grunge and punk, I mean, it's kind of similar in that regard. But like the idea that someone famed for getting by and doing what they're doing, but having absolutely no technical, formal musical training in what they do. I wanted to bring it to you guys and just kind of see what your thoughts are, and the people in the chat. This idea of breaking down those barriers to music production, creative expression, artistic integrity, that kind of idea that, again, especially with the personal branding and now musicians being very entrepreneurial, we have to do a bit of everything. Sunwarper hit me up this afternoon and say, I've just got a creative cloud license. It's like, you got to do all the Photoshop and you got to do all the Premiere Pro, that kind of thing. And there's such a caveat to doing what we're doing. It's a lot daunting. I talk about Spotify, like a lot of the stuff that is uploaded to Spotify, a lot of artists never release more than 10 tracks because there's so much of it and there's so much to do that it seems very externalized. It's not picking up, and therefore my art is not very good. You know where I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Sunwarper?
Yeah, I mean, two things. I don't think you need to know that stuff. There's something to be said about just playing from your soul, right? From the heart. And I think innately a lot of exposure to music and things will just subconsciously give you the ideas like, oh yeah, this sounds good together. I don't think you have to know like music theory or something like that. I like knowing music theory and learning it because I think it's cool and I enjoy learning about it, but I also like to know the parameters so I can work outside of them. And just like, I also just like the nerdiness of being like, oh, that worked because it's this chord in like relationship, or interval relationship or something like that. So I enjoy it, but I don't think it's necessary. And like, I don't think Kurt Cobain had any training, but like I was watching Rick Beato talking about a Nirvana song, and he was dissecting it with his music theory knowledge and saying like, these are all these interesting things he's doing. So it's there innately, I think.
Copy killing joke.
Yeah, that too, I guess. Maybe that's what it is. But that's the thing. Imitation, copy, like it's all... What's that saying about great artists? That great artists steal or something, right? What's that? There's that one saying about... It's like...
Plagiarism versus... I'm
blanking, but I just think it's not necessary. Also, though, he's a producer, right? And he's working with incredible artists who probably do know what they're doing. So it also depends on the context of, like, what you're doing in relation to something. So
I mean, yes. I mean, a frequency control synthesis is the ramblings of an aging hippie. And I think that's a very accurate. I think it's a very accurate way of looking at it. The idea of, he works a lot with like self-development and meditation, inward focus and stuff like that. And he's got he says it in the interview in 60 Minutes. He says, I'm just paid because I am very decisive.
Really quick, sorry. Frequency Control Center said, good artists borrow, great artists steal. That's exactly what I was trying to say and completely blanked.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
There you go, very much so. But yeah, so like this, having the decisiveness and the confidence in the self and know that your artistic integrity is worth something and is down and is just as valid as anyone else's, no matter whether you've got 10 followers or 10 followers on Spotify or 10,000. It's every artistic expression is kind of valid in its own way. And I think it's people like Rick Rubin, as you say, as Bendu says. I don't know if it's still possible to make a career out of how he's done it, but it's people like that kind of bring that back down to earth.
I would love to know how. I might have to read this book because I'd love to know how he actually got his break. I know all the people that he worked with and so on, and there've been a lot of people in the music business who said, you know, I may not know that much, but I know something good when I hear it. You know, and maybe it is a certain amount of I've got 2 ears, I use them, and I can tell when somebody's good and they've got something to say, and that's not necessarily the same as being a musician or anything. I don't know, but yeah, I'd love to know how he actually managed to break through and start working with the kind of quality that he did, because you know, a certain part of me thinks we can't really go wrong to some extent. It's about taking people who've got something to say, who can play well, get them to do their thing and capture it, make the best version of them doing that you can.
Mm-hmm.
Just try and bring out what's already there. There's a certain element of production anyway. So yeah, I don't know. Do you need to be a musician? Just different ways of doing it, I guess. And he's just proven the fact that you don't have to be if you have other skills, maybe.
Yeah, and I will say he's been on a ton of podcasts recently. So if you listen to probably any podcast, you've seen his name pop up on one of the newest episodes. I would recommend checking at least one of them out. I found it pretty interesting, just like what he was talking about and the way he approaches everything. Bendu says he started Def Jam in high school.
Ooh,
wow.
Okay. I mean, why study when you can just make a record label? Isn't that what we did, essentially?
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, there we go. Yeah.
Start young, maybe that's the advice.
Start young. But I bet.
No, I don't like ending on that dour note. No. No way.
Why did you not start young? I did.
I think you can start whenever. We all start and do things at different phases, and it just, you know, this is what I was going to say, what Survey Channel said. It's probably the connections he made. He said, seems he was a master networker and someone that has the social and natural intelligence to see the forest for the trees. Starting Def Jam and being a part of the punk scene. Hydro Fighter. I'm not convinced P. Diddy knows much about music either. Hey, that's your opinion.
But that's the thing. I mean, production, when you're working with bands and so on, a lot of it is people skills, right?
Yeah. Networking, connections,
and being diplomatic, being likable, just getting on with people, creating the vibe, getting the job done. And he seems pretty good at doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think it works. I mean, being extroverted and people friendly and stuff like that. Maybe it's just me being the introverted little synth nerd that I am that likes to stay inside and not talk to people unless they're on the screen. The idea of going out and networking with people is probably why I'm still only got 130 crowns in the bank. But that's what we can make it work. We'd like
better
to know
than
what you guys
120.
Yes, it's fair. Exactly. I'm being grateful. Being full of gratitude.
You're up when the Spotify royalties come in, man.
Hey, so if you like that clip, consider going across to YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Music to check the full Audionautic Deep Space Network live stream.
Yeah, and if you want to join us for the next live stream, they are on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. UTC.
And finally, we do have the Audionautic Radio playlist, which is in the description below. Some of the greatest cross-section of the underground electronic world that you see. IDM, ambient, down-tempo, you name it, it's in there. It's great. Curated by Sunwarper.
Yeah, so if you're looking to find some new music or just see what's new in the electronic sphere, head to that link in the description, and we hope to see you at the next Audionautic Deep Space Network.
Thanks for watching. See you around.